Joseph Kelly. The future, we can prepare for the future by learning from the past. Who was it that said if we forget the past, we are doomed to repeat it? What type of computer did George Washington use? Was that a Mac or a PC? Abraham Lincoln, did he have a BlackBerry or an iPhone? Technology changes, but the basics of humanity remain the same. What students need to learn is how to learn. I'm fortunate, I'm a student, a lifetime student. I hope I never stop learning. If we teach students the basics, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and how to recognize the situation and learn and study, and a love for learning, that puts them on the road for the future. The technology will change, and if they have a good basis in staying nimble, as someone mentioned, that will keep them learning. That will provide them with a lifetime of education.
Okay, this is Bev Grabe. I hate being last. Anyway, one of the things that we can do for our kids in this 21st century world is look at best practices for teachers and determine what are, including the teachers in that decision and with our management, what are the best practices so our kids can get the most out of this education that we're giving them. The use of technology for students is a tool, like Paul and Randy are talking about. But when you see a first grade class using iPods and using those iPods to do math, to write stories and write a book and put pictures in those books and to spell, it's just incredible because the kids are so proud. And I was in a large first grade class where every single child was on task. Every single child. They're so motivated, so excited, and that's one of the things that you're talking about. Online courses, we have to think differently about what we're doing, and we have at this time, we finally have been able to get this going. We have 9 online classes offered at Big Bear High School. We have 50 students enrolled, and we have 3 teachers that are working with those 50 students. And so we're offering kids more things to meet their needs. I'm hoping that the homeschool kids that are out there that haven't come back to our school district will come back when they see that we're offering these things. Partnerships are really important with the Ed Trust, and Phil Hamilton is on that. Darn, can you finish that?
I'm done.
Oh, you're done.
Okay. You've heard the last question. We'll come back around to Randy. Public employees' pension reform is a critical issue for the future solvency of school districts, cities, counties, and the state. If you were elected, what measures would you take to assure that the school district avoids excessive pension costs and possible insolvency?
This is Roberta Hardy. I would work together with my colleagues, and I would study, because I'm not familiar with everything. I can't answer completely what I would do right now, but absolutely look at everything about it and provide a solution, help provide a solution to accomplish what we want to do. And because I don't know very much about that at this time, I really can't comment more than that. Thank you.
This is Paul Zamoyda. I'm not sure how that question was directed, but our local school district does not really have any authority over pensions and contributions to pensions. It's an ed code. It's a thing that's outside of our control. So, I think where the question is going is, to what extent do you think pensions need to be reformed for the solvency of the state, and where do you stand on that? And no one can debate that there is a financial problem here in California, and no one can debate that by fixing pensions for all pensioners across public employees would go a long way in solving those problems. The issue I have with that is the commitment made by teachers. You know, teaching is a profession where almost 50% of teachers drop out of teaching in the first 5 years. The average teacher's salary, starting salary across the country is $39,000, and the maximum or the average highest salary is $65,000. It's a profession where, compared to other countries with higher test scores, where they get paid a lot less, and they're more committed to their job than I think most people think. So I think you have to look at the whole picture and see what's going to happen to the quality of teachers when you take away the benefits of being a teacher. A recent study by McKinsey said that 68% of college students would consider teaching if the starting salary were $65,000.
Thanks. Joseph Kelly. Pension reform, that's a hot button issue. It certainly is something for the state. The concept of pension reform is something that has to be done at a level of teachers and other employees are represented by unions for the most part. And the union representation that fights for their pensions, their wages, their benefits, all of that has to be very strong. The union representation has to go in and negotiate vigorously and with authority. On the other side of the table has to be someone who is equally vigorous and strong and authoritative that represents the financial concerns of the people. As Paul said, there's limitations at the local level where that is, but as a concept, I think both sides should be represented, and as board members, we represent the people. We are the elected representatives to represent the voter, the taxpayer, and the citizen. And the teachers need good, strong representation by their unions. And that meeting of those entities will produce the best results for everybody.
This is Bev Grabe. First, I want to say that our unions here in Bear Valley, the classified union, CSEA, and the teachers union, BVEA, are extremely cooperative, are tremendously understanding of what we're going through as a school district, and work with us in the best way that they can. I get a little miffed when we start talking about teachers and state employees taking a big part of our California budget when they're being badmouthed because they are doing exactly what people who are doing are putting money into Social Security. They pay part of their salary, their employer pays a part of their salary. Why should they be badmouthed when the CSEA and STRS is smarter about how they invest that money? And Social Security spends money on a bunch of other stuff that shouldn't be paid for by Social Security. And so it's going away. I really have opinions about that, as you can tell. I get emotional about that because I hear it on KFI and those terrible radio stations that badmouth teachers and classified, and I don't like that because they don't have all the information. Teachers pay, classified pay, the employer pays, and they have just belonged to a smarter group that invests their money wisely. And that's all I have to say about that.
See, Holly gets a little worked up too over that. As it's been stated, and in fact, you'd be surprised at how little control we have over our financial destiny here locally, including things like pension reform. As far as the insolvency part, that's where we do have more control here locally. And a large part of that is simply paying attention, getting good information, and then doing something about it. Some of our neighboring school districts aren't doing too well, and I believe one of the main reasons is they're not willing to make the hard decisions. And that's one thing so far that our district has been able to do and the board has been able to do is make some of these difficult decisions and not put them too far off in the future, because that's the easy thing to do, is to say, we'll decide later. Unfortunately, we're not done with these difficult decisions, and my fear is that they're only going to get worse. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But insofar as we have local control here over some of that, we need to pay attention, and we need to make those difficult decisions in a timely manner.
Okay, we'll go back and start with Paul again, and then and we have time, we're running a little bit late, but I think we have time to squeeze in one more question from the audience, and then we'll do closing statements starting with Joseph, so get prepared, Joseph. One more, the last question, Paul. What is your position on student assessment and accountability? Student assessment and accountability.
What do you mean, good person? This is Paul Zamoyda. Can I request extra time? I have been a huge, I was teaching when No Child Left Behind came into the classroom in the early 2000s. And when I heard about it, just like a lot of people did, I thought it was the best idea ever. Then I saw it getting implemented, and I saw it getting put into practice, and I saw a lot of resources, time, and energy being put into preparing for tests, testing for tests, giving tests to prepare for the test, and tests to prepare for the test to prepare for the test. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. Then I looked at the legitimacy of the tests, personally having to administer them, looking at the questions, and seeing the lack of relevancy to their lives, in my opinion, and the lack of relevancy as them as questions. Let me give you an example of a question. I was talking to the teacher of my son last year when he was given a benchmark test, which is based on questions from the CST, the big exam that we take in the springtime on which we're judged. The question, they had been studying root words. When they got the test question used the word base words for root words. So everyone in the class failed that question. It wasn't an indication of what those children knew, and had that been the CST, the school would have been judged on that question. And it's not just that one question, there are several questions like that. I have been a wholehearted believer in project-based education, authentic assessment, where kids have to show me that they know what they're talking about, and to assess someone on one multiple choice test and make that be the most important criteria on which your school is going to receive funding, or it's going to receive titles such as program improvement or not program improvement, I think is being negligent to our children.
Thank you. Joseph Kelly. I'm sitting here with some educators, and there's other educators out in front. In my history, I'm on the ballot as a retired commercial pilot. My commercial license in flying was as an instructor. I taught students, sometimes there were classes of Japanese students who didn't speak English. That's a tough class to teach, and if I didn't teach my students well, they would take off and die. So that's a big responsibility for a teacher. So I know it's difficult, or rather it's a responsibility in teaching, and something as a teacher with essentially a federal teaching credential, we know that evaluation and testing is actually part of the learning process. To teach you don't just throw information out to students, you must evaluate to see what they're absorbing and where they need help. And as a basic part of teaching, evaluation is very important. It's also important as to compare with other students in other places and compare between different teachers, different classes. So evaluation and testing is part of the learning process, not separate